Hello everyone, am I audible? Let me know. Am I audible? So, let us start today's topic. Uh, Welcome all on the platform of Unacademy Future Doctors. In this channel, we are posting videos for MBBS university exam going students. So, if you have anyone in your friends, your family, or your junior who is appearing for MBBS university exams, you can share this with your all the friends. I myself, Dr.Dipti Kariya. I'm MD PhD Physiology, Associate Professor educating MBBS and MD students, and I have more than 17 years of teaching experience. Okay? Let me explain within 2 minutes about our subscription. Okay? We have two subscription, one that is plus subscription. Here you can choose the best from the best. Here you can access both live and recorded classes. You can study on the device of your choice. You can learn from India's top educators for your medical exams. You can access question bank with more than 25,000 questions. You can compete in live tests and quizzes. You can have access of our printed notes. Within 12 months, we are coming with it. Next, that is iconic subscription. Here in iconic subscription, you can access to the best from two of the best. And which are these two? One that is Unacademy and Prep Ladder with Unacademy, and second is Unacademy and Prep Ladder with Prep Ladder. Okay. Here in first subscription, you can have well-structured live batches, recorded classes covering full syllabus, and question bank, which is having more than 25,000 questions. You can compete in the live test and quizzes, as well as you can have comprehensive printed and digital notes. Here in Unacademy and Prep Ladder, with Prep Ladder, you can have clinical and integrated essential video lectures from your dream team, question bank 3 with active guidance, system tags, and more, rapid revision and snapshots, treasures, and 2021 notes. So you can get any of the subscription from your mobile. You can use my promo code DIPTI10 and you can get 10% discount. Okay. Apart from this, on this channel, we are posting these videos. These are free. In spite of your subscription, you can watch these videos are available on the channel. Please note down the name of channel, because sometimes students may have confusion that madam videos they are not appearing sometimes. But what you have to do is, like YouTube, you just have to go to the channel Unacademy Future Doctors, and you just have to write down name of your teacher and code like Dipti Thakkar, Dipti 10. Then you can get all my, okay, and you can watch them anytime. Now, here today's topic, that is properties of synapse, may be asked as question, full question. Okay, so here all these are properties. Let us first enumerate, then we will discuss one by one. Okay, first, that is one way conduction, synaptic delay. We will discuss all these properties, and today we will learn all this property by heart. Okay, third is summation, fourth is occlusion, fifth is subliminal fringe, convergence, divergence, facilitation, fatigue, after discharge, reverberation, and post-tetanic potential. These are all the properties, because students, whenever they are writing in the exams, they are writing half the properties. Some of the students, they are writing 5 6 properties. These are all the properties you have to write down. That is one. Okay. Second thing, some of the properties are given wrong in your standard textbook also. I should not say, but I am telling you the thing that in Hindu Khurana also they have given the things wrong. Here, one way conduction, they have written Bell Magendy's law. This, it is not Bell Magendy's law. Okay? So whenever you are reading the book of Indian author, you just be aware that the thing should be written properly. Okay. Now, so here you can see, starting with the first property, one way conduction. Okay. Try to remember all these properties today only. In this 20 minutes video, I am assuring you that you can easily remember all these properties if you are watching this video properly. Okay, so starting with first property, one way conduction. One way conduction means impulses are transmitted from प्री-सिनेप्टिक न्यूरॉन टू पोस्ट सिनेप्टिक ओनली इन वन डायरेक्शन. जैसे हमारे रोड पे होता है वन वे, नॉट इन दिस ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन. Two-way transmission, that is the property of electrical synapse, not the chemical synapse. And most of the synapses in our CNS, they are chemical synapses. Okay. So here this is one-way conduction. Why one-way conduction? Because in the presynaptic neuron, you can see there are synaptic vesicles, okay, which releases neurotransmitter. Now neurotransmitter binds here on the postsynaptic neuron and impulse passes here. So this way only. So this is one-way conduction, and other name for this one-way conduction is law of dynamic polarity. It is not Bell-Magendie's law given in your standard textbook also. This is law of dynamic polarity. Okay, one-way conduction. Hmm. So this is first property, one-way conduction. Second property is synaptic delay. What is this synaptic delay? Here you can see when the impulse reaches here, presynaptic terminal, it takes some time to reach to the postsynaptic membrane. So this is synaptic delay, time required for the impulse to pass from presynaptic to postsynaptic neuron. Okay. This is synaptic delay. Normal synaptic delay is 0.5 milliseconds. Okay. Now, what are the causes for synaptic delay? Why there is delay here? This is more in chemical synapses. Okay. It is the time required for the release of neurotransmitter. Here, neurotransmitter release requires time. That is one cause. Second thing, what happens? This neurotransmitter passes from presynaptic terminal and it enters into the synaptic cleft. So this is second cause. Third, time required for the action of neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter binds with the receptor. So that requires time. Third thing, time required for entry of ions inside. So this is third cause. So these are all the causes for synaptic delay. Okay. So this is second property. First property, that is one-way conduction. Second is synaptic delay. Third property is summation. Now what is this summation? Summation is of two varieties, temporal summation and spatial summation. Summation is nothing but just addition. Okay. So here what happens? Addition means when you can see here, this is presynaptic terminal. Okay. So here at presynaptic terminal, one stimulus comes. Okay. Here very important thing is the stimulus must be less than threshold. Then only there is summation. Threshold stimulus produces action potential and there is no summation. So here you can see when presynaptic terminal that is stimulated with subliminal or subminimal stimulus repeatedly. Suppose you can see one stimulus comes here, then second comes, then third comes repeatedly at the same place at different times. So it is known as temporal sum. So they give the response which is summated. For example, suppose here we are giving one stimulus of strength 2 millivolt, then with 3, then with 4. So what happens? All these three are summated. This is known as summation of time or temporal summation. Very important thing is stimuli must be subminimal. Okay? Subminimal, that is less than threshold. Why? Less than threshold? When it is more than threshold, then it produces action potential. Okay. Now, second is spatial summation. Spatial summation means summation of spot. You can see here, suppose here this is one presynaptic neuron, this is second presynaptic. When these two presynaptic neurons are stimulated at the same time, suppose here this is carrying 2 millivolt, this is carrying 3 millivolt. So what happens? These two are also summated here. So this is known as summation of two spots at a time. That is spatial summation. Okay, am I clear? So three properties we have discussed. Number one, one-way conduction. Second, that is synaptic delay. And third, that is summation. Fourth, here you can see, I'll show another diagram. It becomes very clear for you. You can see this is temporal summation. Summation of time. Same place, different time. And these are two spots you can see at the same time. So that is spatial summation. Okay, is that clear? Same thing here. This is spatial summation. Three spots at a time. The activity is summated here. Okay. So this is third property we have discussed. Fourth property, very important, that is occlusion. What is this occlusion? You can see here, suppose from this diagram, you can easily understand the things. You can see, suppose This is nerve fiber A and this is nerve fiber B. When you are stimulating nerve fiber A, you can see 10 postsynaptic neurons are stimulated. So this A is connected with 10 postsynaptic neurons. When we are stimulating B, again 10 postsynaptic neurons are stimulated. But when we are stimulating A plus B, mathematically how many neurons are stimulated postsynaptic? They are 20. But here these are less than 20. Why less than 20? Because some of the terminals are common for A and B. So this is our occlusion property, very important thing. So now I will explain, that is given in your book. That is response of simultaneous stimulation. This simultaneous stimulation of two presynaptic neuron, that is less than sum total of the response which is produced by separate stimulation of the same neurons. So when we are separately stimulating and we are adding the effect, that is 20. But when we are simultaneously stimulating, then it is less than 20. Okay? So this is occlusion property. Opposite to the occlusion is subliminal fringe effect. You can see here in subliminal fringe effect, what happens here? Now fiber A, presynaptic neuron stimulated. You can see here 5 postsynaptic neurons are stimulated. When we are stimulating B, again 5 postsynaptic neurons are stimulated. So what happens mathematically if you are stimulating A plus B, it would be 10. But here they are more than 10. Why more than 10? Because here you can see this A produces action potential in this 5, but it produces EPSP in this 2. Same way B produces action potential in this 5 and EPSP is in this 2. So what happens when A plus B are stimulated? These EPSPs are added. There is spatial summation. And what happens? There is stimulation of these two extra endings, that is known as subliminal fringe. The name itself suggests sub means subthreshold stimulation, liminal or minimal. Subthreshold stimulation is given to fringe means peripheral neurons. So what happens when we are stimulating this two at a time, then these peripheral neurons are also benefited. So we have discussed 5 properties till. One-way conduction. Second, synaptic delay. Third, that is summation. Fourth, occlusion. And fifth, subliminal fringe effect. Okay. Next property, that is convergence. Convergence, what happens here? When you can see there are large number of presynaptic neurons. They are ending on small number of postsynaptic neurons. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 presynaptic, ends on 3 and ultimately ends on 1. So that is all are converging their actions, adding their actions. Sometimes what happens here, some of the neurons they stimulate, some are inhibiting. So what happens to the effect? Addition of all will be found here. This is convergence property. Okay. Opposite to the convergence, that is divergence property. You can see here one presynaptic neuron has synaptic connection with multiple postsynaptic neurons. Okay. So this is for magnification. Suppose you are stimulating only one neuron. So what happens? You can stimulate this all 7 neurons when you are stimulating just on one neuron. So this is divergence property. Now you can see the same thing, convergence and divergence in a single neuron. You can see on this neurons you have 3 convergence and the same neuron diverges on other. So this is convergence and divergence. This is the actual picture for convergence and divergence. You can see here this is one neuron. It has got so many neurons ending. You can see here so many. This red and green, red are inhibitory and green are excitatory. So what happens? Ultimate effect is summation of all this. This is the actual picture in our nervous system. So these are the properties we have discussed. Okay, at till date. So let us revise. One, that is one-way conduction. Second, synaptic delay. Third, summation. Fourth, occlusion. 5, subliminal fringe effect. 6, that is convergence. 7th, that is divergence. 8, that is fatigue. Okay. So fatigue, what is fatigue? Fatigue means there is decreased responsiveness. So synapse is the site of fatigue in the central nervous system. Fatigue means what happens whenever here what happens when action potential comes, but still there is no generation of impulse in the postsynaptic. Presynaptic neuron we are going to stimulate, but we are not getting any response at the postsynaptic. That is because of fatigue. What is the most common cause of fatigue? Is exhaustion of neurotransmitter. These neurotransmitters, they are exhausted. Sometimes oxygen lack is also there, carbon dioxide and waste products are accumulated. So these all are the causes for fatigue. So how can you define fatigue? When we are repeatedly stimulating the presynaptic terminal of the synapse, it reduces responsiveness. But this is reversible always, very important thing. Suppose if you give rest, then this neurotransmitter is generated again and then transmission starts. So like it is like that, if we have read a lot, 10-15 pages, then now our transmission decreases, so we get fatigue. Then if we take rest, we can again do the same thing. Okay, so this is next property. Next property is facilitation. Facilitation means, you can see here, when this is facilitation, this is the example of facilitation. So here what happens, when we are stimulating this presynaptic neuron, and this presynaptic neuron has got synaptic connection with some other neuron, which is facilitatory. So this transmission is increased. What happens here? Here action potential arrives, neurotransmitter is there, acetylcholine is released. Okay, but at the some other end, this is stimulated. So this is facilitated. So presynaptic terminal is facilitated. And one of the common causes when we are repeatedly giving stimuli. This repeated stimulation that results in facilitation. This is the role of revision at the time of exam. So if we have repeatedly stimulated, then that results in facilitation. So this is next property. Let us revise all the properties. Number one way conduction, synaptic delay, summation, occlusion, subliminal fringe effect, then convergence, divergence, fatigue, facilitation. 9 properties we have discussed. Next is after discharge. What is this after discharge? Here in after discharge, what happens? You can see there is single stimulation, but synaptic network is such a long that there is continuous output. So that is known as after discharge. Single instantaneous input results in sustained output because one synapse is connected with three, these three are connected with more three, again more and more, and that results in exaggerated, or you can say sustained response, sustained output, and that is after discharge. Okay, so this is again, and this is because of positive feedback also. Another property of synapse, that is reverberation. What happens here? Reverberation, you can see this impulse, it passes from presynaptic terminal to postsynaptic terminal, and now this postsynaptic terminal has synaptic connection with the presynaptic, so it will come back to this presynaptic. This is known as reverberation. Repeatedly, it is moving in the same pathway. So passage of impulses from presynaptic to postsynaptic, and this postsynaptic has again connection with the presynaptic. So this is our property of reverberation. You can see here. So let us again enumerate the same thing here. Not going in detail. Let us enumerate all the properties again. One-way conduction, synaptic delay, summation, occlusion, subliminal fringe effect, convergence, divergence, fatigue, facilitation. Then after discharge, reverberation. Last property, that is synaptic plasticity. One of the property of synaptic plasticity. Synaptic plasticity means synapses are like plastic. You can say that plastic can be molded. So synaptic transmission can be changed. Suppose today you are not knowing something about some topic, but if you read, so you can change your memory. So this is same thing that happens at your synapse level. Okay? So synapse has very important role in our memory. So synaptic plasticity means synaptic transmission is molded or changed. Okay? So here what happens? Examples of synaptic plasticity. One of the example, that is post-tetanic potentiation. Other examples are habituation and sensitization. We will discuss all. So habituation and sensitization. So these all are examples of, this is 1, 2 and 3. They are example of synaptic plasticity. We will discuss. So what is post-tetanic potentiation? I'll give you just simple example. Suppose you are reading or you are sitting in the class. You are not very attentive to your class. Then what happens? Your teacher just pointed out. Teacher told you that just stand up and give me answer of this question. And you were not attentive, so you couldn't answer. Then teacher fires on you. And then again teacher teaches you the same answer. So what happens? What happens? You can remember that answer lifetime. And here this property comes. Why here this happens? Because you were fired. Is it? So here the same thing here. Post tetanic. Tetanic means fire. So here, now let me explain the property. Here you can see, suppose when we have stimulated a synapse, so you get this much of response after stimulation. Okay, then what you have to give is tetanic stimuli. Multiple stimuli you are supposed to give at the post synaptic membrane. Okay, when you are giving multiple stimuli, okay, and then for example, suppose you are giving 100 stimuli, you can see here multiple stimuli are there given, okay, for 2 seconds, just like firing of your teacher. Okay, then again you stimulate the synapse with same strength of stimulus, but here what happens, you can see stimulus was same but response is increased. So this is your property of post-tetanic potentiation. Why response increases? Because whenever this tetanic stimuli were given, this tetanic stimuli, they cause large amount of release of calcium ions. Now these calcium ions are important for this response. So this is the role of firing by your teachers and your parents to improve, potentiate your performance. So this is the property of synapse post-tetanic potentiation. Am I clear? Okay, so this is the same thing here. Next is synaptic plasticity, as I told you. Three things in synaptic plasticity. One we have discussed, that is post-tetanic potentiation. Second thing is, as I told you, habituation. And third thing is sensitization. What is habituation? Here, suppose at the synapse or somewhere, if you are applying non-injurious stimulus, non-injurious stimulus, then synaptic transmission decreases. This is known as habituation. So you are getting used to. You are habituated. Suppose your teacher fires you daily. So what happens? Your response decreases. So this is non-injurious stimulus produces habituation. Now synaptic transmission will not increase. Okay? One of the other example is, suppose somebody is scaring you in such a way. So every time if somebody is carrying you in same way, then now you are not getting scared. So that is habituation. Third is sensitization. Sensitization means, if suppose injurious stimulus was given to you, then what happens? Every time the response increases. For example, suppose you got shock from any electricity plug. Okay, so what happens? If suppose you got a shock, then next time when you are touching that particular place, you just withdraw your hand before. So that is sensitization. So this time what happens? Synaptic transmission increases. So this is synaptic plasticity. Okay, so this is the property. Last property, that is reciprocal inhibition. Here reciprocal inhibition, what happens? You can see here, this is one neuron getting information here. Okay, and the same neuron which stimulates one group of neuron, you can see here, this is having stimulatory effect on this neurons, but the same is having inhibitory effect on the other neuron. Suppose there is a knee jerk. So what happens? This receptors are stimulated, muscle spindle, impulses are transmitted. But here what happens? Extensions are stimulated, but at the same time, flexures are inhibited. So you can see here, stimulation to the neuron for extension and inhibition to the neuron for flexion. So this is known as reciprocal inhibition. Okay? So this is about all the properties. Let me enumerate again. We have discussed one, that is one-way conduction, synaptic delay. Third, that is summation. Fourth, occlusion. Five, subliminal fringe effect. Six, that is conversion, 7 divergence, 8 fatigue, 9 facilitation, 10th that is, can anybody add this? 9th is facilitation, then fatigue, then facilitation, then after discharge. 10th is after discharge, 11th is reverberation from one to other. 12 that is from after reverberation, there is synaptic plasticity, which is having post-tetanic potentiation, habituation, sensitization. Last one that is reciprocal inhibition. So these are all the properties of synapse. Now just give me answer of 5 questions, 6 questions. Okay, let us participate in this questions. Okay, if you have attended the class, you can definitely give answers correctly. Okay, so one, that is all are true about synaptic delay. You can write down, type your answer in the chat box. Okay, it takes only 5 minutes. Let us complete fast. All are true about synaptic delay except number one, usual duration is 0.5 milliseconds. Second, due to time taken for the calcium influx, exocytosis, and release of neurotransmitter. C, time taken for the degradation of neurotransmitter. And D, none of the above. So the correct answer here, that is time taken for the degradation of neurotransmitter. Okay, that is not correct. Here this 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, this is C, sorry, C. Except, answer is except. Okay, correct. Prakash Nayam Paiku. Correct answer. Then not a property of synapse. Okay, we have enumerated so many times, so you can easily be answer this question. Law of forward conduction or one-way conduction, fatigue, occlusion, and all or none law. Give me answer. Not a property of synapse. And the answer is all or none law. It is not the property of synapse. Okay. Third question. Please try to give answers. Third question is occlusion at the synapse. Due to, what is the cause of occlusion? Increase excitability of postsynaptic neuron. A is not correct. No, A is not correct. Correct answer is D. Here, occlusion is due to increased excitability of postsynaptic neuron. B, synaptic delay. C, afferent fibers overlapping in their central distribution, and release of inhibitory neurotransmitter. In occlusion, we have discussed. Suppose if I am stimulating A and 5 postsynaptic neurons are stimulated, stimulation of B, again 5 are stimulated. Then A plus B is less than 10. So why? Answer is correct. C. Good. Then next question is post-tetanic potentiation we have discussed. Last for days is increased post-tetanic potentials in response to stimulation. Both of the above and none of the above. Post-tetanic potentiation. What is the correct answer? Last for the day, increase post synaptic potential in response to stimulation. Both of the above and none of the above. Give me the answer. Sorry, correct answer is B. It will not last for days. This I told you, in memory it will last. It lasts in memory, but the response for synapse, that is short lasting. Okay, if we are, I just gave you example. I gave you example that you will remember. You are correct that you might have thought that, but this was just the example. Here when we are talking about, yes, I gave you the example, that is to remember. But here in case of postsynaptic, post-tetanic potentiation, this will not be, response will not be days. That memory will be there. Synaptic response is for short duration. Okay. Now, fifth, postsynaptic inhibition in spinal cord during course of IPSP is known as. direct inhibition, indirect inhibition, Rancho cell inhibition, and negative feedback inhibition. So as I told you, IPSP has 4 types. One that is postsynaptic inhibition, presynaptic, Rancho cell, and feed forward inhibition. Okay, we have discussed in our functions of synapse. Okay, so here you can see post IPSP, post synaptic inhibition again is of 2 types, direct and indirect. Okay, indirect, what happens? There is opening of potassium or chloride channels, and in indirect there is refractory period. So this post-synaptic inhibition during the course of IPSP, here when there is opening of potassium and chloride channel, there is IPSP channel. So here correct answer is direct inhibition. Okay, this one. Okay. Next is which is true about presynaptic inhibition. You, we have also discussed this is presynaptic neuron, this is postsynaptic neuron. Okay. Now, what happens here? This presynaptic neuron itself is inhibited. This is presynaptic. Okay. So, what is correct? It occurs due to hyperpolarization of presynaptic membrane. It occurs due to inhibition of release of positive neurotransmitter from presynaptic terminal. It produces action potential. It occurs due to blockage of presynaptic receptor. And the correct answer is here. This membrane is hyperpolarized. So there is decreased release of positive or neurotransmitter at the presynaptic terminal. Okay, so it occurs because of hyperpolarization of the presynaptic membrane. So this is all about today's topic. If you like the video, you can press the like button, you can share with your friends, you can subscribe our channel. The channel name is Unacademy Future Doctor. So please subscribe this channel and you will get all the videos regarding your MBBS university exams. Thank you.